cool would it be to take a friend to UFC 300? You guys get to hang out with Jocko and then go hang out with Bo Nickel at his post-fight party. Because Jocko Fuel is giving you a chance to do just that. 2 tickets, airfare, and accommodations paid for. Plus, you'll get a VIP escort from Jocko Fuel to show you around Vegas. All you have to do to enter is go to jockofuel.com, make a purchase, or just click on the link below. All right, guys, here we are pulling up on April, right? A week away. But let me use this timeline because it feels like just yesterday. Feels like just yesterday, Conor McGregor puts out a tweet that he's got a big announcement. He's going to bring it to us on New Year's. Sure enough, New Year's comes around. Conor releases a piece to the world on Twitter, which I believe the kids now call X. And it's a video of Conor. I remember it fairly clearly. I remember he's spinning this wine around. Like, I was annoyed by the wine for whatever reason, but I'm just letting you know how vividly I remember this. And he states that he's going to be fighting Michael Chandler. He states that that's going to be June 29th. It's at T-Mobile Arena. He states that that is International Fight Weekend. He then says it's going to be at 185 pounds, but he does this like demonic type laugh. That's fine. Fade to black, roll the credits. This is the whole statement. I get called to go on to ESPN to address this. This was fight news. We've got news, and Red Panda Night is still real. Like, that is still, Conor McGregor, that is still the top draw, the top attraction in our sport. And the show was called RCDC. Ryan Clark, Daniel Cormier. And I just said, guys, and I didn't want to ruin their segment. I knew what I was brought there to do. I didn't want to ruin the theme and the energy of the show, but I said, we've got to check the source here. This source is Conor McGregor. It's not coming from the UFC. 1 week ago, Conor McGregor, the same source that we're relying on right now for the sake of this segment, 1 week ago, stated that he was going to be boxing Manny Pacquiao in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So, with what credibility are we listening to this source? This was my piece. This is all that I said. I didn't have evidence one way or the other. I just brought that forward. So, before you know it, I end up looking like I'm wrong because Michael Chandler came out. He backed it up. He confirmed the statement. And the UFC has never allowed a fighter to be the one to make the announcement. In the history of the UFC, it's never been done that way. Ariel Helwani ended up on the outs with the UFC over this very thing. Do you guys recall this? I know you hardcore ones do, but Ariel had a piece of information, and if Ariel released that information, which was just going to be done over social media, it would impact the reveal of the UFC releasing that same information that they were planning to do later in the evening during a broadcast. So, I bring that example in just as an example to let you know there's never been a fighter, particularly with something as big as a return to the #1 star on International Fight Weekend, which is one of the coveted pay-per-views of the entire year, where they would be the ones to release it. And now we've not only heard it, we've heard it from 2 fighters. So we took something that hasn't been done before, and we not only did it, which would be lightning in a bottle, we did it twice. Conor announced and confirmed the fight, followed by Chandler, his opponent, announcing and confirming the fight. That has never been done once, let alone by the red and the blue corner. Okay, there are a few things that we could point to that at one time we could say has never been done before, and then Conor was the one that came in and did it. There's a few things we could do. Maybe this is another record he's setting. But it then comes out that that isn't the case. That fight is not booked. That fight is not signed. So now we've got a problem. Conor, who is an entertainer and a performer, right? And it's very telling. See, it's very telling that Conor, 3 days before the announcement, announces that he's going to be making the announcement. That would be the heads up to the UFC to step in and go, no, that's not what we want to do. Or for them to stand down and go, yes, why don't you take it? That would have been the move. He telegraphed it. He feinted what he was going to do. Everybody knew that it was coming. But once it actually got done, Michael Chandler then backed it up and said, yes, that is all right. So, while Conor is being the consummate entertainer and performer, and some of you will even call it a troll, that's fine, but it's still on brand. He's still out there giving us something to do and something to look at and something to talk about. It's on brand. It's fine. It's not the brand of Chandler. Chandler is not a troll. Chandler does not come out just for the sake of entertaining. And they've now got us in an interesting position. No less than 4 days ago, I was in Kansas City. I was watching the NCAA championships. I like to make you guys professional pieces. I like to come here to my studio. I got a great team over here. I got great audio, good camera, lights. I don't generally make you pieces that aren't from the studio, but every now and then something so big comes out. I don't have a choice. I take my iPhone and I bring you a piece. And I was speaking about this very thing because a week ago, 4 days to be exact, while I was in Kansas City, yet again, an announcement comes out from Conor McGregor. And Conor McGregor made this statement to Mark Raimondi of ESPN, which then got backed up and supported by Michael Chandler, who confirmed the story to TMZ, which was just that they have finally agreed on a date. So, when I spoke to you 4 days ago, my entire premise was not to announce that because there's nothing to announce. There's no venue, by example. There's no tickets that you could go online. There'd be no reason to announce anything if there is not a subsequent action that could be taken to bring in a monetary value. None of those things were at work. But at the same time, we have the red and the blue corners saying it's going to happen. And my biggest premise when I discussed this 4 days ago was just asking you guys, how many times can you be burned before you're annoyed? How many times can they cry wolf? If that fight is to happen, right, we go down the road and that fight is going to happen. Okay, great. How are we going to know? Well, Conor's going to tell us. Okay, great. Fair enough. Not enough. What else? Well, Michael Chandler's going to back it up. Okay, great. But not enough. That's what's happened and happened and happened time and time again. Like when they finally are telling the truth, how are we going to know? We're going to have the third part, aren't we, guys? We're going to have to hear it from the UFC. We're going to actually have the organization say yes. And it becomes a very peculiar spot, more so for Chandler, because he's not trying to troll you. He's trying to get the fight. Chandler's in a very fine position here. That if he were to come out and make any type of demand, it could cost him the match. And if Chandler was to come out and just say, this has got to be at 170 pounds, if he was to just lock in on anything, it would be a way out for McGregor to go, well, I wanted to do the whole thing, but now he's being silly. Guys used to do this in the 90s. It was called pricing yourself out. And they'd step forward and say, I'll fight anybody, but you're going to give me $1 million. But it'll be anybody for $1 million. The biggest purse ever given back then was $90,000 a show and 90 to win. So, I mean, it was just this insane thing. But you, the audience, let him slide. You, the audience, never called him out for it. Go, well, if we would have given him his price. So I'm only bringing that because there's not really anything that I would advise Chandler to do different. But I don't know the advantage of backing up a claim by a guy that keeps lying. I don't know how it would be a disadvantage for when Chandler gets called and somebody says, all right, Conor just announced this. Is this true? I don't know what the disadvantage would be to Chandler to openly and honestly answer that and say, it's the first I've heard. That is news to me. I don't know where that would be bad. I don't know where that would be a downfall. I have been surprised time and time again, not that McGregor has trolled us, but that he's got Chandler to agree to the troll. So as I speculated, 4 days ago from Kansas, when they both announced it, one to ESPN.com and one to TMZ Sports, right? I mean, good, reliable sources. As I speculated, I'm not convinced that we have a fight, and here we are. 96 hours has passed, and we don't have a fight. And the level of interest and the level of intrigue in this fight, it's an oddly hard spot. Like, I view Michael Chandler as a big draw. I do. And if you took the top 5 guys, of which I don't even know who they are, but if you put any one of them in, I would have just as much excitement towards a Chandler fight, and I would think it would do just as well in the media and just as well in the ratings. The same statement could be true for Conor. I think you could take any 5 guys and put them against Conor and expect the same amount of attention. And when you have a situation like that, while that might sound positive, but you've now really proven the point that they don't need to fight. We don't need them to fight. They don't need each other. They could use anybody else, right? At some point, people are going to catch on that this fight's about nothing. It's not about a belt. It's not about a contendership. It's not about a ranking. They don't even have a weight class. They don't even have a feud with one another. We can't even manufacture conflict between the two. And at some point, if you become annoying, and at some point, if you end up in the pool that you can't be trusted, it's a very hard spot. And the majority of MMA fans that are clinging to this, that are still involved at all, are involved from a perspective of let's get it done so that we can move on. Let's get that done so that then we can match Chandler up with some meaningful opponents that do affect rankings and potential title lists. We could do the same thing with Conor. And more than anything, how will we know? It's never been done before. We've never had red corner and blue corner come out and make a statement and a claim that they were going to fight. Never has this happened when they weren't going to fight. Never have we had red corner and blue corner come out and say we've heard from the organization, where they're now bringing in the credibility of the promotion, and have it not be true. That's never happened before. And it's happened twice in the last week with this match. So how would we ever know? The time when they tell us that actually, how will we know? And the answer is, we got to hear it from the promotion. That's the one that's always been missing. The piece and the ingredient that keeps on being left out is the promotion. So as it pertains moving forward to Conor versus Chandler, what could have been, what's going to be, what's at bay, what's lost at sea, we will never discuss again until we hear it from the promotion.